so this is a piece that you have not seen before, where I had already done several layers of glazing and waxing and resisting. This was an area that had latex on it, and now I've gone ahead and applied my wax both above and below the place that I want to dip it, right? Because when I dip it, I'm gonna have to go down to the lowest curve of this pot, and I need to have kind of a horizontal line that corresponds with that to make sure that I am not gonna dip down below. If you're really nervous, just go ahead and wax all the way down to the foot. And I really just want you to pay attention. This is after I've mixed it, how quick this is. So I'm dipping it, and I'm pulling it out, okay? And what you can see here is you can see the glaze drying very quickly. That means that the clay was dry enough and absorbed the correct amount of glaze. If it stays really wet for a long time, your clay might have been, or your bisqueware might have been a little bit wet, okay? I have a little bit of an area here where it looks like it kind of spotted out. So this is another thing that you can do, is you can kind of rub that area and hope for the best. Here is where I dipped a little too high, and I actually have an inadvertent overlap. And then here, of particular importance, these are glaze drips that the wax prevents from absorbing into the vessel, but they do not make, the wax does not make those glaze drips disappear. They will stay there if you do not remove them. And so you might be interested in kind of seeing what that spotted appearance might look like on the sides of your vessel, and that would be fine. But where you don't want to allow that to happen is on the bottom, right? Because that bottom part, if there's any glaze on the bottom of the vessel, it will stick to the kiln shelf, causing damage to both your piece and the kiln shelf. So you want to be sure that you are taking those preventative measures to take care of the work that you've done so far, which is a lot, and then to also protect the equipment that will fire it. Okay, so again, I'm going to show you a little trick. I don't want to use a sponge to remove that because I will just blend it in. But if I can use a tool that has some kind of metal edge that I can scrape that glaze off, I mostly preserve the glaze underneath, and I can remove that other glaze on top. Accidents definitely happen, and accidents happen. The more things you try on your vessel, the more apt you are to have something happen that you didn't intend. And so you're going to be empowered with knowing how to resolve those issues without having to completely wash the piece off and start over. And remember that once you've put wax on top of a glaze, you can't just wash it off anymore. At that point, you're going to have to bisque the whole thing to burn that wax off. At this point, every surface of this vessel is glazed, and now it is ready to go ahead and put on the reduction shelf. Now I'm using kind of a dirty sponge, and you can see it's leaving streaks, so that's not ideal. So if that's happening to you, take a second and rinse that sponge off. You want to have a nice clean sponge, definitely a nice clean bottom.